Hello, 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 hello. What day is it? Happy Monday. It's Monday. Sorry, a bit tired. Was an interesting weekend this weekend, but let's not worry about that because the apes are back in town. Good morning, Patrick. There you go. GME, GameStop up 42, AMC up 16%. Uh, yeah, we had the tweet come out, or the zeet, or whatever we call it now, and triggering the squeezy squeeze, especially in GameStop. So, how is it going, everyone? Hoping everyone had a wonderful weekend. Big week today in terms of inflation with reports. Uh, what's this? With rates normalized and the mid 2024 pop in core PC to just over 3%, our models indicate we expect the Fed rate cuts to be pushed back farther, causing middle quarters correction for equities. Who said that one? Who was saying that one, Sterling? Let's see, but thank you for putting it in there. Richard, hello, good morning. Heinrich, good morning. Charles, good morning. Jacob, good morning. Eric, good morning. John, good morning. Anissa, good morning. All right, did I miss who put that in? I'll have to figure that out. Well, Sterling will let me know, of course. So, what do we have coming up this week? We got today Fed Speak, Jefferson and Mester. Uh, let's see, should be speaking like now. Should be speaking now. Then we got consumer inflation expectations, forecast 3.1, prior was 3, and we got the 3 and 6 month bill auctions. Tomorrow, important PPI numbers, core and headline PPI, Red Book, and we got Powell speaking. So that's going to be interesting to see what he says about the timing of rate cuts. If he brings it up, who knows? But more important, Wednesday we have CPI. CPI, we have retail sales. So CPI is the big day, really going into this week. Then we got Kashkari, Bowman speaking. Thursday, we have the unemployment numbers. As always, we got some housing starts. We got Philly Fed, and we got more Fed speak because, again, they got to get it all in before the blackout period. And then we got the Consumer Board Leading Index coming out on Friday and wrapping up with Waller speaking. So the big day this week is, the biggest day I'd have to say is Wednesday. Good morning, Martinez. So far, comm services, Google and Meta. Google really the pullback. That's what's dragging comm services down, but everything else is pretty red for the most part. I mean, the majority of stocks are still heading up. Group scanner, you see comm services down 1.38%, but everything else positive, leading with technology and consumer cyclical higher. All right, your Fed Watch tool still cut in September, but not above 50%. This is definitely going to move this week, whether it goes higher or lower, depending on the PPI and CPI figures, and then another cut in December potentially. Fear and greed, finally out of fear and back to neutral mode. All right, in terms of earnings, wasn't much this morning. After the close, not really much. Tomorrow morning, sort of interesting. We got Alibaba, but the big one for me will be Home Depot. Home Depot will be big for me tomorrow morning. So that's not in terms of massive market moving, but in terms of the sales, because that's actually the number one retailer in some states versus Walmart. And Walmart, before the open on Thursday. So we got a couple of biggies. And we got Cisco, one of my favorites still from the .com era, still reporting after the close on Wednesday. But still lighter in terms of earnings, but we do have some key things still going on. Applied Materials after close on Thursday. So we'll see how that plays out. All right. All righty. That's your crude. Let's get back to the market. So remember, because the podcast Futures Edge should drop today. Let me see right now. Let me see. It's processing right now. So by the time this is done, if you want to listen to more of me, then you listen to more of me with the Futures Edge. If you're done with me, then don't bother. But remember, we already passed the 75%. We still have the 87.5% magnet. 52, 87, 25. So that'll be interesting going into the numbers tomorrow and Wednesday. We stalled out right now at the little cluster. Daily cycles are back at the top. Weekly cycles still heading back up. So we could still get some more upwards push. Now, based off this, the early warning sign that we're rolling over is about 51.50. The more significant is about 50.75 on a closing basis, and those are both potential front run patterns. If somebody was going to get aggressive and try to front run this potential double top. Other than that, remember the trend in the short term is still up. The trend, we have the probability still that we could retest the high area from the end of March, beginning of April, which we're not quite there yet. Now, can the PPI and CPI throw a wrench into that? Sure, but if they come in as expected or slightly better than expected, can it propel it back up? Because remember, we can even go to and take out the highs for March and not disrupt the potential major topping patterns. And these are major topping patterns that may never trigger. Again, the trend is your friend until it ends. But we've identified things that could end the trend in a significant way. Also, remember, you can watch the what is it, the podcast? I guess it's still a podcast to hear my thoughts. Also, on the election cycle. I don't need to repeat that here. NASDAQ also hitting that 75, so in potential double top. You still have that 18,500 area as the magnet price. So we'll see if it can reach that, getting into overbought territory. I didn't go off my intraday levels. Let me just go to intraday levels off the S&P. The major support level is 52.40. 52.65 is a key resistance level, and then above that, you don't have much. You sort of have a void there until you get up to a minor level. You might want to look at is about 52.73 to 52.75, and then you don't have much until that 52.87 to 52.95 area. In terms of the NASDAQ, going into the open, you have a little mini flattened out. The probabilities on these, when you see, come on, why can't I? Fantastic. Oh. When you see the this extended base like that, you just got to be a little more careful with these doubles. But I'll be watching the 18,189 on a closing basis, at least a 1 hour, possibly 4 hour closing basis. Other than that, that becomes key support. 18 really 190 area, and you start taking out this 18,350. You really don't have much because you have a clear path move up to 18.5. 18,510. 18,510 is very significant resistance. The Dow, also a little sideways pause, 8 pushing the price on the 4 hour after connecting with the 75 harmonic on the daily. So 39,996 is still the magnet price, but we are in potential double top territory. Again, may never trigger. Trend is still up. So Russell's the only one in the big four futures, or big four, things we follow. I mean, I'm not going to follow the mid caps or anything else on this channel, but 2104 is the magnet price to put that in potential double top. Even though I have it on here, it's still not technically in double top territory. It'd have to get above 2104.2. So that's still the magnet price there. The VIX, slight little elevation going into this week, and that's not due because we have not sold off. That's actually due to the PPI CPI numbers and retail sales coming out this week. So that's the reason that's elevated, but it's still not really elevated. I mean, it's only back to, what's it back to right now? 1328. The DAX, the DAX is also in potential double top territory unless it trades above 19,121. Sort of stalling out here the minor harmonic projection. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Other than that, your next magnet price area is at 19,121. The key support on any pullback is 18,630. Notes, not much to talk about. This is going to react to, again, PPI and CPI. If it breaks above about 109.05, we could see a pretty quick trip to 109.22, 109.23. If we break down with the CPI and PPI numbers, the key area on a closing basis to the pullback side is 107.30. The 10-year, the breakout for higher yields is roughly 4.5, where there's been significant resistance. And if it breaks out on the yield basis, the key resistance is 4.61. You get a close above 4.61, we continue to run higher. If we break, and especially on a closing basis, start closing below about 4.43, the magnet price is a breakdown to 4.3. Dollar index. Little bounce after hitting first and second targets, now rotating back down. This is also going to react to the PPI and CPI numbers, but we still have probabilities for pullback in the dollar, especially if this does pull back towards the 200 and the final target on the double. Other than that, the area that takes the final target off is either a close above 105.42 or a trade through 105.63. Actually, if we close back above 105.42, because we're still in a pattern that we, overall the longer term, we could still see higher prices in the dollar after this potential pullback. So I'm keeping a close eye on that. Crude, going to see, remember, we've pulled back between the 50 and 62.5. We spiked in there. I'm still watching to see if we pull back today at all. This wasn't quite into double bottom territory. Did not quite get there. If we did break above Friday's highs, we're in the rotation zone that's heading lower, and we have very key resistance with the 200. So that's why I'm watching for a stronger bottoming pattern. And remember, we could easily roll over again and retest the 200 on the weekly right around 75.50. So from my perspective, even if we pop up, I'd be more looking for a minor topping pattern back around 80. Not much to talk about with natty gas, just watching for a pullback now there. Gold, the double has not been invalidated just yet. After hitting that first target area, it would still need a close above about 23.88 or a trade through 24.08, roughly, an intraday trade, which could happen based off the PPI and CPI numbers. So we're going to have to see on that one. Hey, good morning, Options 22. Well, Wednesday is the biggest day of the week because of your birthday. Oh, it is. See, they scheduled CPI on my birthday. Those silly schedulers, they did not. And so, actually, will we be celebrating my birthday in style, or will the markets take a dive? That's the real question. All right. The yen still stalling out right in front of this 50%. Remember, 157.09 is key on the closing basis. Other than that, there's nothing I'm seeing right now in the yen. Euro, still now finally potentially getting above the 200, especially if we close above here, above the 200, and this doesn't pull back intraday. The next major area that I would be looking for a target would be 108.50 to about 108.70. because that would be the next key magnet price higher. The spiders, we had the little gap up on Friday, just above the minor harmonic level, and then closing pretty much on the 87.5. We had the gap fill too. So today we have the gap up 522.60. The high from Friday is 522.64, so opening there. On any pullbacks, the two targets I would be looking at are 521.80 area and then the gap fill, 520.84. A break above Friday's high, my target is 523.80, and then the highs. The highs from the 28th of March, which are 524.61, and right above there, 524.75, we have the other harmonic projection. So those are the upside targets. The Qs, again, the spiders and the Qs are both in potential double top territory. The Q price magnet is 444.81. Pre-market is 443.90. Above 443.81, you have a very key significant level. I'm going to show you right there at 446.30. So that would be the next target I would be looking at. On a rollover, I'd be looking at first the open from Friday, 442.54. So right around 442.55, 442.50, and then to the close, 442.06. So right around that 442, which is also a high, the key high from Tuesday the 7th. So those would be my pullback targets right there if we do roll over. Tesla finally filling the gap. And still on any bounce, watching for continued rollover plays. Remember, we also have another gap much lower. So the next major magnet price, though, lower is about 158.85, and then it's to the close of 144.68. If you're looking for any bounce plays based off of this, you'd have to get a close back above 187.20 before I get anything besides minor bounce bullish. NVIDIA. On a 4-hour basis, we have it turned into a channeling double, so don't even bother with it. It's just a channeling double. So the key support right now is coming in roughly about 880 to 884. What you're going to want for the bullish case, though, is to really pay attention on the closing basis of about 907.25. What else? We got Google. Google's still pulling back. The good old Google. Remember, Google is in potential double top territory, but needs a daily close below 162.78. That will be interesting if that triggers, because you also have gaps left behind from the earnings. All right, you can see that on the daily close, and I need a daily close. There's the daily chart, and that would also take us below the rotation zone. And look at the close with the 50. So my actual magnet, this is where, since there's a cluster, a triple cluster, a key close, a 50 EMA, and the second target on that double, that would be on any breakdown play would be roughly 156 for a target that I would look at. Other than that, Meta, not yet filling the gap, but coming up to the key resistance area. So if Meta continues to climb, 493.50 is still the magnet price there. All right. What else do we have? What else? Let's take a Home Depot. We got earnings tomorrow. Got to update the chart correctly. Earnings tomorrow. Any beat The key area I'd be looking at is 362. For any significant recovery plays, 370.63, so we need a really big gap up. Right now, trading against between a very key support and very key resistance area. So for a breakdown play, it has to get substantially back below 335. And then, remember, if I take off these, you'll see it better. So it came back down to this 50%, okay? And I'm sure people can see this. The price for the double was 329.51, got back down to 329.43. So you had a little mini double. A little mini double there. And even with the aggressive targets, came up there, and now stalling out. So that mini double's played out, which gives us this very key resistance area of 350, the very key support area right around 335. So those would be two areas I'd be watching for gaps beyond with earnings. Other than that, let's see. Going into the open, key pullback level going into the open on the short term, 52.60. And key resistance of 52.65 going into the open. Dark screen, he wants the good old Bitcoin, which is up this morning. The key area I'm watching is this sort of little, it doesn't technically qualify because it's not reversing enough move, but this little mini downsloping, what I call a neckline. The key point to this is going to be roughly about 65.5. Other than that, that's going to be significant resistance. So yeah, it is up a bit this morning, roughly about 2.35%. But on here, remember, still triggered a double. A sloppy double, but still a double. So I'm going to be watching for rollover plays. Now, if we get another rah-rah move in the markets, based off of especially CPI, the key level to watch for on Bitcoin on the rally, once it gets above this, I'll call it not really a neckline, but it's going to be an important line, is 67.256. You get a close above there, and that's the 62.5 from this pullback, okay? It doesn't technically invalidate the double yet because we didn't get to the first stop move down, but that would also get above the key highs from the 23rd of April. So then this would just be a sort of a sloppy pullback into the weekly rotation zone. The weekly rotation zone would have held, and I'd be watching for at least a retest of that 71.558 area. Hope that all makes sense to the longer term viewers. Can you look at the RXRX chart? The BioHive. I love this stuff, the BioHive. The BioHive supercomputer, RXRX. So you said it hit this. Which 78.6 were you looking at? Let me just look at a couple things here. Oh, you're looking at that 78.6. Okay. I see what you're looking at. See exactly what you're looking at. Your key levels, I mean, if it can sustain above this 930 area, I mean, look at how well the harmonics line up with the prior price action. So if you're looking for upside stuff, you're looking at, here's your breakdown level, there's your harmonic. The next level, so you'd be looking at 1040, then roughly 1145. But to really get the bull case on, again, you'd have to follow through eventually with that close above 1251. Longer term, yeah, you'd have to really sustain something. Your very key resistance right here, even with this gap up. So that has to hold on any pullback, and before I target the 1040. All right, that's where we sit going into the open. Going back into the open, going to push up to that key resistance area. Remember, we start breaking above 52, this 52.65. You do have some selling pressure in here, but the next key area is at 52.87. With that, I will talk to everyone later. Let's see how okay. Public people are watching Futures Edge. Well, they should be watching me still live. Futures Edge, at least in lower term, standard definition. I think the higher definition is still processing. But if you want something after the open to tune into or listen to in the background, Futures Edge with me on it is up and running on the channel. So keep an eye out for that. Let's just take a look at the tick on the open. The tick on the open, very strong. Wow. Very strong opening tick. This is the highest opening tick since Monday the 6th. So pretty strong opening tick. Be watching for key support to hold on the tick pullback. And then if the key support holds, you could still potentially see a trend day. A trend potential day if it can get through to this 52.65. So that with the tick pullback, that's why I'm watching the key support levels to hold. If they do not hold, I'll go into a choppier day. With that, I will be back and talk to everyone tomorrow. Bye for now.